What if burnout's root cause isn't what you think? The Unpacking of Betrayal with Lora Cheadle. We tend to scour the surface level of why life isn't working. What if our burnout has a deeper, more insidious root? Join us as we welcome Lora Cheadle, a betrayal recovery coach who, through the soul-shattering experience of infidelity, discovered an enticing connection to burnout. Unmet expectations and a sense of profound betrayal can be the unseen culprits behind our overwhelm. Lora shares how to move beyond surface level fixes and explore the energetic, soul, and ancestral layers where true healing begins, breaking the cycle of self betrayal. Prepare to uncover the real reasons behind your exhaustion and learn powerful tools to fuel up and truly thrive. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness driven ride. Welcome. Let me share a little bit about the incredible guest that we have with us today. Lora Cheadle is a former attorney, TEDx speaker, and leadership wellness coach, redefining burnout recovery. As the creator of the Fuel Up method and life choreography, she guides high-achieving professionals and progressive organizations to resolve burnout at its root. Lora is the author of It's Not Burnout, It's Betrayal: 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive, and Flaunt, Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy, and Spiritual Self, and host the Flaunt podcast. I am so pleased to help welcome to our stage today, Lora Cheadle. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really looking forward to this conversation.
We're going to have a great conversation because I had the pleasure of seeing you speak at an event. And so I loved your story. I wanted to bring you here to our audience and share a little bit about that. But let's get started and share a little bit more about you so we can at least get to know you more.
That sounds wonderful. I am a former corporate attorney, and the reason that I was drawn to practicing law was because I was passionate about creating justice in the world. And more than just justice, I'm not talking about financial and economic justice. I was talking about real justice. Like, how can we live that balanced, healthy, happy life? How can we truly do it all and excel? I had a background in wellness. So I thought, oh, I am the perfect person to do this. I can absolutely do it all, and I can help other people do it all. I can help us break down stigmas and stereotypes, and I'm just going to help create the perfect world, right? Yeah. I burned out. I burned out from the practice of law pretty severely. And I thought, well, that's okay. I'll just lean into my wellness background. So I became a wellness coach: yoga, meditation, hypnotherapy, spiritual growth, all of that wonderful stuff. And guess what? I burned out again, and I didn't know why. Yeah. Well, along about that time, I found out that my husband had been cheating on me for 15 years. And it devastated me because I had done it all right? I had done it right. I learned how to be well. I was helping other people doing that. What was wrong with me? Well, it ended up being the perfect gift. I realized that what I was doing was such a betrayal of myself. I was leaning in. I was trying to do too much. I was focusing more on performing the perfect life than being in life. I started learning everything about betrayal and betrayal recovery. And that's what brought me to where I am now and what I am passionate about. And that is helping people understand betrayal, what it is, how it impacts us, why it's not usually just burnout, and then ultimately how to come back home to ourselves so we can stop betraying ourselves.
Oh, wow. Isn't it something that even though we're learning all of these self-improvement tricks, how to take care of our bodies and diving into all of those things, and then things still aren't quite working for us. We find that we want to control everything and fix everything externally, but that's not really what it is. And it's interesting to me, you may hear that, right? You may hear that people say, oh, you got to fix the internal aspects, but we don't really understand that or see that until everything that we've tried isn't working. And then we have to hit this really rock bottom piece of ourselves until we're like, okay, I need to start doing something differently. I need to start looking within. And Lora, I love how you talk about the self-betrayal. So yes, obviously you were immensely betrayed by your partner. And when we are betrayed by others outside of ourselves, you don't think of it as a self-betrayal because it's not you, it's somebody else doing this to you, right? But
Yes.
yet, when there's all of this external ongoings that are really mirroring your internal ongoings, that's when we start questioning, okay, how am I betraying myself?
Absolutely. Because what I started understanding is it's the frequency of betrayal. Where is betrayal showing up in my life? Where is it showing up in my belief systems? I did not cause this. It's not my fault. But this is an experience. Why did this experience happen? It's happening for me. It's not happening to me. And I can either be bitter and I can shut it down and I can spend the rest of my life telling my victim story, or I can get curious and I can learn from this and I can expand and I can grow. And the other thing that really got me curious about this, and you had mentioned this earlier, but it's that ancestral piece. Women have been betrayed for eons. Our body, we feel like our body betrays us sometimes when we get sick, when we go through menopause. Why is there such a legacy of betrayal around women? And what can we do to embrace that lesson, to understand where and how we might be giving our power away, even subtly, and to step back into our own power?
Mm. I really enjoy how you talk about that. Let's dive into that a little deeper.
Yeah.
I would love to know, what were some of the first things that you experienced when it came to understanding those root pieces of ancestral traumas and being a woman. What was that like for you? What were a few aha moments when you were discovering this?
There were so many. It was so visceral and it was so painful early on. And I want to be clear to anybody listening to it that it wasn't like this horrible thing happened and I went, aha, let's make a gift out of this and make it amazing. It took time. I had to grieve. I had to lay on the floor. I had to feel nauseous. I had to go through all of that first. Then that's when it started really coming together for me after that grief, that where am I giving away too much? Where am I doing all of these things in my life for my partner, for friends, for family, where I'm expecting something in return on this subtle level, but nobody's asking me to do that. I'm playing the role of the good girl. I'm playing the role of the high performer. I'm playing the role of the woman who has it all together and can be unstoppable. but that's not how I'm feeling inside. That's not my internal experience. And there's a mismatch between my internal experience and my outward expression. And it's not that I'm just temporarily faking it to make it because I've got a bad day and you have to push through. That's legit. But I was living my life with that subtle disconnect, always putting myself down, never honoring myself, and then feeling a little bit martyry when other people weren't honoring me. And that martyr feeling is not okay.
And and it's so common,
Yes.
especially with women. We and you know something I really appreciate about you, Laura, is you have worn many different hats. Similarly to me, you've had that very professional, corporate, legal aspect of yourself where you're showing up in the world as this front of professionalism. I've got this. I'm a woman. I can be playing in all of these different roles. And you also have that piece of you where you want to explore the spiritual side and
Yes.
the movement of ourselves through yoga and the rewiring of your brain through hypnotherapy. And so that piece of you that is always wanting to explore, to learn, to grow, to expand, to understand thyself as both a spiritual and physical being. So I really appreciate that and I can relate with that. And I think that when women like that, like us, dive into all of these different things, meddle in all of these different things, trying to understand identity,
Yes.
you know, it all comes back to who we are internally, spiritually, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I love that you targeted that women especially struggle with this because there are so many rules put on women. We have to be pretty, but we can't be too pretty. We have to be thin and healthy, but not too thin or healthy because then we're self-centered. We have to, like, the pressure on us is ridiculous and it's enormous. And the thing is, we never push back on that narrative. We internalize it and we think something is wrong with me. Why can't I be the room mom and bake healthy cookies and have all the kids over and work full time and conquer the universe? What's wrong with me? Why can't I get my workout in when I'm working 40 hours and raising kids by myself? And what's wrong with me? We never push back that it's not me, it's the narrative.
Yeah.
And that's that self-betrayal, and it's reclaiming our voice. It's saying, I am smart, and I am sexy, and I am spiritual, and I am all of these things that I am, and it doesn't matter how you judge me. This is who I am.
Yeah. Uh, you know, this really goes into that ancestral trauma, right? The narrative that you described, this is that piece that we have been living by for thousands and thousands of years as women. And I don't know about you. I'm very curious to know if you just dived right into the us being a woman and the feminine piece of this is kind of how it's played out for us. For me, I have been rejecting that for so long where I'm like, you know, I'm not going to play into that victim mentality of,
Mhm.
you know, I've been so conditioned as a woman, but the truth is the truth, and it is factual throughout our historical landmarks of it being this way for women. The
Yeah.
suppression, the having to play all roles and be all of the things and serve, and yet,
Mhm.
you know, giving until there's nothing left to give.
Yes.
And so I'm curious, was it like that for you, or was that something that you started to accept eventually to understand more, and not on that victim mentality, because I know that's not how you view it, but just to embrace it, understand it more in order to at least have the awareness of and grow through?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to tell a little story because I think it illustrates kind of that journey. When I was 22, I was a student attorney. Student attorneys go into court, they represent real clients, they just have an advisor by their side. I went into court with my advisor by my side. I won my case. I did an incredible job. I literally won in the first 5 minutes. The judge called me into his chambers afterwards. I had every expectation that he was going to say, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing. You went up against this really high powered attorney. You won. You've got a great career in front of you." Oh no. He
You
said,
weren't supposed to win,
I wasn't
right?
supposed to win. He said, "How dare you? You made opposing counsel look bad."
Yeah.
I made opposing counsel look bad. Not he failed to prepare, but I made him look bad. He said, "You smile too much. Your legs are really nice. And if I were you, I would consider wearing pants instead of a skirt because that's distracting. And have you ever considered wearing your hair up?" Holy cow. I internalized that I was wrong. How I looked was wrong. How I behaved was wrong. What I did was wrong. And the reality is, I also wanted to practice law. I wanted to practice law in this jurisdiction. So for me to push back against him didn't really make sense because I was putting my livelihood at risk. So I'm in this catch-22 position. So I zipped it and I never said anything. But I also internalized that pain and I shut myself down. And I was not that big, bold, passionate advocate that I was. So that's the background. Compare and contrast. At age 44, I started dancing burlesque. Why? Because I wanted to, because it's fun, because it's creative, because I used to dance and I miss dancing, because it nourished my soul. And people would say, "Oh my God, you can't do that. You're 44. You're a mom. I don't really care. I don't really care. I want to do this and I'm going to do it. And if you judge me, you judge me. And if you don't want to do business with me, really, that's your loss."
Yeah.
So that's a journey. And it didn't happen overnight. That was a 20-some year journey.
Yes.
And it's just being in it and experiencing it and being hurt and then being okay being hurt.
Oh, that gives me chills. Woo! It gives me chills. Yes, and it brings up so many memories that I can really, really familiarize with that. We're going to move into our first commercial when we get back. I can't wait to pick up this conversation. Stay tuned. Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our Wellness Driven Life Show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenliving.com today. Welcome back, everyone. Here with the beautiful, incredible burlesque dancing lawyer. Oh my goodness, all the things, Lora Cheadle. Wow, I really got chills with that story. And you're right. I think it's so important to highlight the gap in which we learn and better understand these experiences that we have, because it's just like success, right? It's not overnight, it's 10 years in the making, right? Or it's whatever. And we have to have these experiences that really move us or shock us in order to grow and expand and become the beautiful people that we are right in this moment. And so, Laura, I love the example of that when you have this fire burning inside of you because you want to show up, because you want to make a difference, and you want to be this superhuman of a presence in the world, right? And make a big difference. And then you get that light just blown out and gone, right? And so, and then we go in and we hide and we shrink and we don't show up to our full extent. And look at you now. This is incredible. And you're making a global presence, not a presence in the courtroom. And so that's how I feel about my experience in law enforcement. And it was not easy as a woman. And I think especially as if you're a beautiful woman, and not to be shallow in that, but my grandfather always said it was more difficult to be a beautiful woman in the world than it was to be an average looking woman, because you've not only got the setback from other women, right, because of jealousy or what have you, but you have that extra issue and with the men, right, because they either want to screw you, or they want to fire you, or they want to whatever, right?
Yes.
So, and if you don't play into that, it screws you.
You're punished.
Literally, you're punished. Yeah. So, being in those role plays and experiencing that is very, very difficult, and it hurts, and you don't know how to show up in the world anymore. You don't know how to live, and you stepped back into that at 44 years old, dancing, and that's so cool. I love it.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. So share a little bit about how you're making a global impact now. What is life like now for Lora?
Life is amazing. I love to use the concept of burlesque in explaining this. So often, the things that we are afraid of, we're more afraid of the idea of them. And then when we actually step in and start doing it, we're like, oh, that's not that bad. And it's the idea. Like for me, the idea of dancing on stage felt terrifying. The idea of putting my 44-year-old mom bod up on stage and being that vulnerable, it made me feel exposed, and that's scary. But when I started actually doing it, I realized I'm the one in control. I'm the one in control of revealing myself, and I choose it. And it's actually not scary because I'm leaning into it. And then I'm realizing the things that I'm afraid of aren't that terrifying. And that's how I live my life every day now. Things, of course, they're scary, but I lean into it because I am choosing how to reveal myself. I am choosing to break down stigma. I am choosing to break down stereotype. I am choosing to talk about taboo subjects. Infidelity is very taboo. There's so much shame around that. The shame is not mine. I don't need to carry my husband's shame. He can carry his own shame. I can speak about it. I can speak about my fear. I can speak about our difficult times. For the record, we're back together. We got back together. We've been working through that.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
yes.
I feel like this is breaking news. Like huge story.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And I'm very honest. Here's the difficult parts. Here's where we're like, I hate you. Why did we do this? There's times where I'm like, I'm so glad we did this. Let's speak about it. Because when we're all honest, it makes other people feel normal. Marriage is hard. Relationships are hard. Life is hard. Let's just talk about it. And that feels so empowering and so, so good.
Oh, wow. This is so cool, because this is my idea. I have no idea how your journey has gone, but you healed yourself.
Yes.
That's what firm believer, you heal yourself and everything else changes and other people heal. And there's reasons why people do the things that they do, because they're hurt, or they've gone through whatever it is and they don't know how to express themselves. So that's an incredible story that you have there.
Yeah, it is. And you're absolutely right. It hinged on me. Like I said earlier, I could be bitter and resentful and angry the rest of my life, or I could thrive. I could lean into this. I could eke every last drop of love, of light, of lesson from this, and I can become more fully myself. And now, yes, I relate better. I'm more confident. I can do whatever. If I can get through this, if I can do the dancing, if I can do the relationship, I can do anything. And if I fail, that's okay because I know how to pick myself up again and I know how to heal. And I have that level of self-trust that I will show up for myself. I will never betray myself again for any reason. And that makes me unstoppable.
Oh, that's beautiful. When you don't betray yourself, you are unstoppable. So share with us some of the things what are those things where you really can pinpoint and understand if it's something happening where you are betraying yourself, like some sort of signal that happens. How do we understand if we are falling into a self-betrayal moment?
Yeah. I think the biggest, and this might catch you off guard a little bit, but the biggest thing, once you acknowledge it, to not judge yourself and beat yourself up, but to lean into laughter. Both my fuel up method and my flaunt method have the letter L, and the letter L stands for laugh out loud, because laughter is the number one way to calm and re-regulate the nervous system. And we have all been conditioned to believe that life is so serious. If you don't get the grades, you're not going to get into college. If you don't get into college, you don't get the career. If you don't get the man, if you don't get the house, if you don't get the job, like there's all this fear. And laughter is the number one way to bring ourselves back home, to re-regulate the nervous system, to give ourselves the perspective that we need. We will mess up all the time. It's okay. Laugh at your mistakes. Laugh at the world. See the irony of that. I think it's hilarious and very ironic that I was betrayed and now I will betray myself. That strikes me as funny. Then I accept it. Okay, that happened. Now I can choose to move on. But that laughter piece, I think, is essential to our own growth, to our own realization that we're not beating ourselves down. So much of my work is encapsulated in the word flaunt because of the energy of flaunt. When we're hurt, we crumble. When we're hurt, we shut down. When we're afraid, we fold in. The power lies in our ability to flaunt.
I like that. And, when we understand that it's that self-betrayal that we're experiencing, and laughing, gosh, I just love the laughing, because looking back on all of the issues or traumas that we have, if we can laugh at it like you did, it brings a completely different perspective to it, and then they no longer are traumas, and
Yes.
we have transformed that. And so I think that is absolutely, just like you said, the L, laughter, is essential key to all of this.
Yeah. And also it cuts defensiveness. And defensiveness is one of the worst things in relationships, in careers. We all know that person who's always defensive and we're like, I can't bring anything to them. When you're laughing, it drops your defenses. It brings people in and together we rise. I don't care what that together looks like. Together we rise, and laughter helps you drop those defenses, drop your cover, brings people in, and hey, let's do this.
Ah. Now, Lora, your story of being cheated on for so long and then coming back to the same partner, I'm sure you've run into so many people like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? And yet, this is one of those stories of the ultimate, like, people do change, will change, can change. It's that miraculous piece, and the piece of you expressing again that healing within, and then the mirroring of the outward expression of that healing within yourself. So what has it been like for you with basically the societal,
Yeah.
actually, I'm not spitting that out rightly, but what has it been like for you to receive and acknowledge all of those things?
I know exactly what you mean, because it's this judgment. It's this,
Yes.
why are you such a doormat? What's wrong with you? Why are you so weak? Why are you letting him get away with this? Why don't you know your worth? And it's like, it's exactly because I know my worth, that I
Mm.
trust myself, that I know there was a voice inside of me, even as I found out, and it makes me cry, there was a voice inside that said, this story isn't over yet.
Mm.
I have to trust that. I can't explain that, but that is my inner knowing that this story isn't over yet. And I had to trust myself above all else, even when it didn't make sense. And I also had to trust that maybe I'm making the biggest mistake of my life, but if I am, I need to own that and I need to deal with it. Because at the end of the day, whose life is this? Whose journey is this? Whose relationship is this? And it was that quietness, that power, that reconnection to my own power that really helped me walk the path and pull it through, because I didn't know what was happening. I felt like I was healing and growing and changing. I felt like he was healing and growing and changing. I was understanding and learning things about trauma I never knew. My husband had a severely, severely traumatic background, but he got over it. Guess what? We don't just get over that. I didn't know what that was like. I didn't know what it was like to witness trauma, hurt people, hurt people. How am I going to metabolize and alchemize the trauma now that has been dumped on me, so I don't do this to my kids, so I can create something beautiful and golden out of this experience? I felt all of that inside, and I felt that there was this bigger calling, but I didn't know what that looked like. And there were so many healing programs out there that felt destructive to me. So I was flying blind, but I was also flying with this deep, deep level of self-trust that I had
Ah.
never felt before.
Oh my gosh. So my favorite thing, two favorite things
Mm.
that came out of this, and I'm sure there's more, but the things that come to mind was the going, listening to that voice,
Yeah.
that tuning into whatever you want to call it, the intuition, the higher self, God, whatever you want to call it. But it's really listening to that voice. You said, I knew this wasn't over yet. There's
Mhm.
something more. I can't explain it, but I'm going
Right.
to trust in it and I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah.
And you found that there were so many programs out there that weren't aligning with you. They
Yeah.
didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Something about it was off. And you're right, there's a lot out there. And that can be extraordinarily challenging, especially when you are so raw and vulnerable and you need it the most, right? You need
Yes.
something and you're desperate and you're clawing and you're climbing. You're like, I just need somebody to help me. But then again, that's reaching outside of yourself. And
Mhm.
yes, we can be guided and we can tune in and listen to those who have wisdom, but
Mhm.
it all comes back to us. And it
Yeah.
all comes back to the work that we have to do, the work that we have to do for
Mhm.
ourselves. And
Mhm.
so super powerful, powerful story. What are some of the things that you do on a daily basis to tune in to that voice and that guidance?
Yeah, I have a practice that I do daily, and it's connecting with my head, because I do have a strong intellect and it's important to be smart and it's important to think things through. So I will ask, what does my head say? But then I will also move into my heart, and I will feel that energy field around my heart, and I will feel like these swirls and bubbles of energy, and I will ask, what does my heart say? And then my third check-in is I drop to my gut. And I feel my feet on the floor. I feel the connection with the earth. I feel the connection and the oneness with all things. And I will say, what does my gut say? And oftentimes there's different answers. And it's not as simple as, well, 2 out of 3 always wins, but it does give me more information. Maybe I need to feel into this more. Maybe I'm not using discernment in the way that I should be, and I need to get back up here and ask some more questions. Maybe I do need to trust my gut on this one. It provides information from 3 distinct different and very powerful sources, and it helps me make decisions, and it helps me decide. And it's interesting, when I don't do that, that's when I tend to make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. The heart, the gut, all of those check-ins, the aligning of it, that is one of the most essential things to do every single day. Because just like you said, if you don't do it, there's things just don't fall into place as they should.
Yeah, because I would just think things through and I'd be on this straight line and I'm getting it done, but that's not necessarily what needs to be done.
Right. Oh, Lora, you have been such an incredible guest on the show. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story and your wisdom with us. I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you. So, for those of you watching, we've had it displayed on the screen a few times. And for those of you listening in, loracheadle.com, easy peasy. It's also in the description below. So, Lora, is there anything else you want to share and enlighten us with today?
I think the biggest thing, we touched on it earlier, but to lean in, just to lean into whatever it is that you want to do. It's not as scary as you think, I promise. And just to lean in, because this is your one wild, beautiful life. And when we lean in fully, we are enriched, we are blessed. It is given back to us. So don't be afraid. Just go do all of those things that you want to do.
Ah, that's beautiful. Lean in. Thank you, Lora.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And you're welcome. And thank you so much to our audience, because without you, the show wouldn't be possible. So goodbye for now, and we will see you next time.